Okay. So if I hit that over there, do I have to hit it in? Oh, son of a bitch. I have to hit it in YouTube too. Yeah, I have to hit it in YouTube too. Okay, now that I got all that set up and I understand how all this is actually kind of working, let's go ahead and hit it again, shall we? Sorry about that.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Welcome to the Off Label Podcast, your twice weekly dose of saying it in insane world with bonus episodes. Ladies and gentlemen, I done told you, everything's changing in here. We're going to look a lot better. We're going to look a lot cleaner. We got a lot more things going on. That countdown was just a placement. Still got to edit some of that out. Look, we got the, where is it? This way. The Doge counter right here. Not the Doge counter, but the U.S. debt clock. That's going to be running during these committee hearings. Got a little ticker down here for information that we may or may not touch on that you want to look into. We'll put that down there. Everything's changing, and we're going to take it to a higher level. But first, we got to push the button.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
How y'all been hanging out with ugly people? Like, how y'all be okay with having ugly friends? Because I'm nope.
This you?
Never in my life had no ugly ass bitch as my friend.
Oh, honey. Maybe you should take a page out of the Evil Queen's book from Snow White. Befriend a mirror, because then you'd have one. Mirror, mirror on the wall, what's that chirping from down the hall? Then again, you might not have to worry about it all that much. I don't know if there's that much fire danger inside of a glass house. But maybe you should turn some lights on inside that bitch so you can see yourself. This is what happens when you tell 1 through 6s they're 7s. Because then they can convince themselves they're 9s, and then 7s think they're 10s. Now here's the thing, all of her friends, I mean, there's a good chance they're probably all hot. But then what does that make her? I'd catch a grenade for you. All I'm saying is go learn how to make a chair and then sit down. You're gonna need that skill. You're gonna need many skills in life. Before I get the comments, oh, you just don't like black girls. I've seen more black titties than Prince. Maybe ask that girl if she can learn how to make a couch so you can sit with her. Get fucked, cunts. Merchant's about. Okay, bye. Whoop.
I am so fucking glad that everything seems to be working so far. I built all of this today, giving it a test run. Still got to tweak some things, ladies and gentlemen, but it is working. I can see clearly. Everything is coming through clearly. It looks visually it looks a lot better too. I'm not gonna lie, on both sides. We're getting back to the OBS part. We're getting back to everything else, ladies and gentlemen, and this right here. But this is just the start of what we're getting into. However, I do want to bring this to your attention. There was another little blow up in the Ways and Means Committee in the House floor. All right. Ways and Means Committee just basically tries to raise revenue and look for ways of making the budget work correctly. So yeah, it can be a little bit boring when you're always talking about money and that's it. But these things just tend to get a little bit out of hand sometimes. And this one's no exception. We're going to get into this. And just to let you guys know, to see the way we do our show and everything, how we've been doing it. Oh my God. Oh, that was scrolled down. How we've been doing it. Before we get into that, I just want to let y'all know. We're bringing back the chat on screen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if it is actually connecting to the right one. Yeah, that's the YouTube side. Rumble side is over there as well. I got to edit some things in this because that one's looking a little bit too fuzzy. I got to see how that works. I got to break that down. But we're bringing back the chats like we used to do, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Of course, we might as well just go ahead and hit this one. Yeah. Like I said, for these hearings, that Doge counter or that debt clock, that'll run while we have these. Let's get started, shall we? And if you guys need a little bit more volume or something, let me know, because I can give you more on these things now. Let's gavel the fuck in here. Come on. Gavel in. I didn't realize I was that far back.
The committee will come to order. Welcome to today's markup of two resolutions of the inquiry from committee Democrats. Democrats are attempting to undermine the critical work being done under President Trump to root out waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government, all in an effort to save taxpayer dollars and make important programs work better, more efficient, and more effective for the American people. My Democrat colleagues claim their concerns are about process and careful vetting, but the truth is that they have never found an ounce of government fat that they're willing to trim.
By the way, just Rhonda, this is
DOGE
kind
has
of what
a
I'm
clear
talking
mission
about. I just built
to
all this
end the
today.
rampant waste,
Everything
fraud,
you see
and
today,
abuse in the federal government.
In OBS.
At the Treasury Department, employees are cleaning the do not pay list to ensure taxpayer money does not end up in the wrong hands. Surely we can all agree that terrorists, criminals, fraudsters, dead people, they don't deserve taxpayer dollars. I'd like to remind my colleagues of the facts. DOGE employees are government employees. DOGE was authorized by the Senate-confirmed Treasury Secretary to access certain Treasury payment systems on a read-only basis. Just last week, President Trump reiterated that department leadership has the final say over the makeup and activities of their agencies. This is not a case of DOGE employees running wild. The Treasury Department and White House even signed a memorandum of understanding preventing DOGE from accessing personal taxpayer data. A DOGE employee can only see taxpayer data that is disconnected from any personal identifiable information. This is the same level of access already granted to some academic researchers and IT professionals. At the IRS, DOGE is performing a similar mission of helping the agency get back to the basics. We must end the Biden administration's focus on auditing more middle-class Americans and shift back to administering the tax code. The agency has struggled for years to perform basic tasks like answering the phone.
Yeah.
Every American who has interacted with the agency knows that. We don't have to tell them that. If DOGE can reform the IRS and make IT improvements to cut wait times, why is that a bad thing? My Democrat colleagues have also conveniently ignored longstanding concerns with the lack of guardrails surrounding IRS employees accessing the agency's data systems. As of 2017, the IRS had been unable to produce a complete list of every agent who has access to the integrated data retrieval system or individual master file systems. Where was the interest? Where was the interest from my Democrat colleagues in taxpayer security then? No hard evidence has been presented that accusations of illegal access to taxpayer information by DOGE employees are true or based in fact. On the contrary, during a recent oversight subcommittee hearing, a witness testified there was no evidence for Democrat claims of illegal access or illegal disclosure of taxpayer data. All Democrats have the rumor and hearsay. For a party obsessed with, quote, misinformation, it appears they don't mind spreading their own. It seems Democrats are only interested in oversight when they are out of power. When Democrats are in power, they do nothing about taxpayer privacy.
As a matter of fact,
instead, they are choosing to drum up false accusations. At its heart, this ROI is nothing more than a sad attempt by Democrats to throw sand in the gears of the Trump administration's important work to expose the waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. When Americans voted for President Trump, they sent a message that they want Washington to stop spending money on stuff that does nothing to serve the people. Every year, the federal government makes up to $521 billion in improper payments, according to a recent GAO study. No one can argue that we don't need to take serious and swift action to root out that waste. DOGE is fulfilling the mandate to rein in an unaccountable and bloated federal bureaucracy. This request for information is a nothing more than manufactured outrage that does nothing to serve the American people. I now recognize the ranking member from Massachusetts, Mr. Neal, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman. Today's markup of these two resolutions of inquiry is an important step in ensuring that Congress continues its important job of oversight over the executive branch. Let's be clear. What we are seeking today is transparency from the Trump administration and DOGE as to what they have done behind closed doors at agencies that carry sensitive personal information of every American taxpayer.
You can't hear me?
We are looking for information. Passing these resolutions would ensure transparency in our government. Rejecting them would allow the executive branch to once again hide in the darkness from the American people this unchecked authority that they allege that they have. Let's state the obvious. There is nobody 300 years old receiving a Social Security check. It's important that members of Congress continue using every tool available to conduct necessary oversight of the Trump administration and for the good of the American people. It is both unclear and unsettling why DOGE continues to seek access to private confidential information at agencies across government behind closed doors while telling the American people something entirely different. No one should be rummaging through the confidential information of private citizens at any agency. Incidentally, if there's waste, fraud, and abuse, weed it out and get rid of it. Is there anybody on this side of the aisle that campaigned on the argument we're for more waste, fraud, and abuse? No chance. Privacy is next to liberty in our democratic system. Yet the president and his
Hold on, guys.
for more waste, fraud, and abuse? No chance. Privacy is next to liberty in our democratic system. Yet the president and his
Hold on, guys.
for more waste, fraud, and abuse?
Yeah, we got that. That's fine. Y'all fucking with me. Swear to God, y'all are fucking with me. All right, let's go back to what we were doing here. Let me get everything set up.
his billionaire cabinet are jeopardizing that standard for their own power. And House Republicans haven't so much as raised an eyebrow about what's happening. Tens of thousands of people in the Veterans Administration being laid off? What has happened without any questions being raised by our colleagues on the other side? Americans should know that every time that their health is threatened and well-being of the American people is not being taken up by our Republican colleagues, they refuse to even raise the alarm. Let me applaud
Mr.
Ranking
Neal
Member Doggett and
loses
Ranking
you.
Member Larson for their steadfast leadership in holding DOJ accountable and protecting the American people's private data.
It's very
What we have
abusive.
seen over the last 7 weeks is unacceptable. Unaccountable and unelected people with no experience in the systems of government are rifling through citizens' data.
Hasn't that been going on for
Under
decades,
the
though?
false guise of waste, fraud, and abuse, they are seeking to dismantle institutions. Let me tell you how this will work. People won't answer the phone because of these layoffs, and the Republicans will say this demonstrates that government doesn't work, after they went along with the layoffs of not allowing people to answer the phone. President Trump and Elon Musk should be answering the questions that members of Congress have, legitimately so, which we would have done with any other executive. This oversight is a fundamental responsibility of Congress, and Democrats are the ones that are going to step up, and we should be having our Republicans assist us. In fact, yesterday,
I didn't even open
our
that. What the
colleagues
fuck?
stripped this body of one of the most fundamental constitutional responsibilities, oversight of the executive on trade. The courts have spoken. They want limits on DOJ. They want to make sure that this information is not tampered with. Yet, as we have seen recently, DOJ representatives won't take no for an answer. The 24-year-olds are rummaging through all of your personal information.
Oh, my God.
Now they're attempting to use a database at HHS as a backdoor entrance. Trump and his allies have made clear that the Americans' private and sensitive information is theirs to harvest whenever they want. All of this while our Republican colleagues remain silent, never asking one question. They're defending his evasive assault on privacy. For years, our colleagues have disliked Social Security. President Bush attempted to privatize Social Security. Now the argument is if we just lay off those employees because of inefficiency, so when those calls are not answered, they once again will blame Social Security for being inefficient. How about the idea that the richest man in the world called Social Security a Ponzi scheme and nobody on the other side raised a word? When you hear Ponzi scheme, it implies an illicit, illegal activity.
Speech and debate clause,
Tens
Rhonda.
of millions of Americans,
You
since
gotta
Mr.
love it.
Roosevelt signed that document, have
Speech and
benefited
debate
from an
clause.
earned benefit. We are fighting to protect 70 million Social Security beneficiaries from an out-of-control executive branch, and we intend to protect the data
I didn't
of
say hi
every
to
American.
everybody.
The American
What up,
people
Musk?
deserve answers as to
Let's
what's
see,
happening to
RP's in the
Social
house.
Security.
We got Shane
Treasury
with
and
us.
every other government agency
Jennifer.
has found itself in
Hey,
DOJ's
Bean.
crosshairs. You need to speak up on the other side. Ask some questions about where this is all headed. And with that, I yield back the balance of my
Let's see
time.
if we can pull others
Thank
in
you.
here.
The
I
committee will
fucked
now
around a lot
proceed to
tonight. I
consideration of
promise you,
H.Res.
it'll get better.
127.
Let
Without
me
objection,
figure
the
it out.
measure will be considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Does anyone wish to strike the last word? Mr. Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Though I must say you're rash and
I'm just going to put it this way. Let's go back here for a second. With them screaming about unelected young people being in there just looking for shit. First of all, you got IT specialists who are actually making algorithms to go searching for things. That's what you're talking about. Okay? And that is incredibly fucking offensive that you would say the young people aren't even worth a damn to be able to go and look at our government. I mean, these people are younger than I am. And already ahead of their time with things like programming and things. What are you fucking talking about? Just because, oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about how we're in your pocketbook. We're talking about how we're getting into your little slush funds, your kickbacks. That's what we're talking about getting rid of. And you're pissy about it. There we go. See, we got Rumble Chat up there too. Does look good with the deck clock on there. It does. I want to strike everything the Dems say from Rhonda. Yeah. That's going to be a thing. it gets horrible within this because I was listening to this while I was going through things and building this and listening to Rob and was doing a whole bunch of things all at one time. So that's why things are a little bit fucky. But yeah. But yeah, that's what we've been doing though. We've always had unelected people just going through things. The Pentagon hasn't even fucking gone through a successful audit yet. But it's always been unelected officials that do these things. I don't understand why you're so pissy. This is 100% pathetic from everybody that raises a fucking stink about any of this. It's that bad. Go back though.
This leading statement indicates your desperation in protecting Doge from the least bit of accountability. You don't realize that there is a big difference between truth and truth social. It's called reality. And the reality is a rampage has been going on through our government. All we are asking for in this resolution is truth, facts. There is nothing in this resolution that should slow the effort if it is legitimate by Doge for a moment. Doge has confused billions and millions. It double counts its body count. And it expects us to accept on face value, as you and your Republican colleagues have, every word of propaganda that they spout. Today, we are concerned that Americans' right to privacy is under attack on multiple fronts. The only privacy in which this administration and you have shown the slightest interest is the privacy of Elon Musk and his Department of Government Evisceration, Doge, or more accurately Dodge, since it dodges all forms of accountability. So thick has been the veil of secrecy surrounding Doge that Trump's attorneys actually represented in federal court that Elon Musk was not directing it. Elon's multiple tweets and President Trump's recent recognition of him during his congressional address make clear that it is indeed the unelected billionaire who's calling all the shots. Today's resolution of inquiry is unusual because these are unusual times and unusual events. This resolution represents a very modest effort to penetrate the secrecy and determine the extent of the administration's invasion of the privacy of just about every person in America. Musk has accessed and is attempting to access the personal and confidential information of our fellow citizens without our knowing the full extent of what data he's gotten to, what he's copied, how the data is or will be used by him, and the names, clearance levels, and the training of the individuals who access the data. That's the kind of facts that we seek today, not to slow any legitimate effort to reduce whatever waste, fraud, and abuse they can find, though we have yet to see a single case of fraud referred for prosecution anywhere, because fraud is a new term used by this administration to simply mean anything they don't like the reasonable administration of the Social Security and Internal Revenue System.
Fraud is a new term that this administration has just now used to say anything that they don't like. Sir, sit the fuck down and shut up. Fraud has been around forever. We know it. It is rampant within our government, within our budget. We know that. Oh, Orange Man. Orange Man invented the word fraud, ladies and gentlemen. It never existed till he said it. This is your taxpayer dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Like corrupt, which is applied to anyone who has the courage to stand up to this administration. What we have is an extreme breach of privacy. The resolution which I am offering on behalf of every Democratic member of this committee simply asks for documents relating to Doge's access to and usage of, first, the Treasury payment systems, second, the confidential taxpayer information protected by federal law, and third, the screenshots taken of Treasury payment systems data by a member of Doge. Tell me how any of that slows a legitimate investigation. No, it does allow a little accountability. It allows the public to know how much damage they've already incurred. This resolution, of course, would be unnecessary had this committee shown the slightest interest, the very slightest interest in protecting privacy and demanding even a smidgen of accountability for Doge. 6 weeks ago, Speaker Johnson committed to a hearing before our committee on Doge, but he obviously had not received permission from his boss, Donald Trump, to do that. At the oversight hearing, neither Musk nor anyone from Doge or the administration showed up to answer a single question. And you're right, a witness testified she had no evidence of any wrongdoing here because she had no evidence of anything about this and was not associated with Doge or the administration. And of course, other than a few words of praise from Musk and Republican plans to declare his birthday a national holiday and carve his face onto Mount Rushmore, the majority has offered nothing but silence as Mr. Trump followed Mr. Musk's directive to fire more veterans than any president in American history and continue to seek highly sensitive private information. One would expect
on Rushmore. Oh
that
my God.
Republicans who want a legitimate investigation of waste, fraud, and abuse would not leave that witness chair empty this morning. It is empty. It has remained empty, as has their commitment to any responsible oversight over this administration. This committee is supposed to be a guardian of sensitive taxpayer information. Instead, it has appeased Mr. Musk and given him access to anything he desires. I yield back.
Shut the fuck up.
Additional members wish to strike the last word. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was a little mystified to hear you say that this is all about, quote, stuff that does nothing to serve the American people. I don't believe that's what this is about at all. This is about transparency. The stuff that you claim doesn't serve the American people, we're concerned about, like Social Security, veterans benefits, and Medicare. These all concern the American people, and the American people are fed up with this administration and Doge assessing our government's payment system and taxpayer data. It's understandable why they're worried. The Treasury and Doge has refused to answer our letters, our calls, and our requests for information. If you've done nothing wrong and you've got nothing to hide, then respond to our requests, and better yet, come before this committee. Don't leave the chair empty. Testify. My constituents, the American people, and all of us should be concerned with what Doge and its leader, Elon Musk, is doing with our data. Elon Musk receives billions of dollars in government contracts and now has access to the federal payment system and has seen sensitive taxpayer data. To date, he has not filed a financial disclosure. He's not disclosed conflicts of interest, nor given up control of his companies that are receiving billions of dollars in government contracts. We have no assurances that he's not using this information for his own personal gain. In fact, Mr. Musk has already used this administration for his own benefit. Doge has already targeted the Department of Labor, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, USAID, USDA, EPA, Federal Elections Commission, Department of Interior, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Office of Government Ethics, all of whom have been investigating Musk or one of his businesses. And I'd like to ask unanimous consent to add to the record this report from the Judiciary Committee.
Hold on, Mr. Thompson. There ain't no motherfucking way you gonna sit there and tell me that, all these people are investigating Elon Musk. You mean like how they investigated him for the, not hiring illegal immigrants into government contracts? I mean, is that what you're talking about? Or how about all the other frivolous bullshit where there was even claims of SA in some of them? Is that what you're talking about, sir? The waste, fraud, and abuse is coming heavily from our government. The dude scares the shit out of me, but I'm glad he's in there just saying, hey, we don't need this shit. We don't need that shit. We don't need this shit. I'm glad for it. Get this shit out of your pocketbook and back into mine.
Regarding these issues.
Without objection.
Thank you. Doge is not about going after waste, fraud, and abuse. If it were, they wouldn't have fired all of the inspectors general. That's where you start the investigation to find the waste, fraud, and abuse. Instead, they're using their time to pass a bill that critical programs like Medicaid and extends
Yeah, there you
tax
go, Jennifer.
cuts
Cost
to
me
the top
$69 to e-file my taxes
1%
yesterday for a
of the
$44 federal tax
American
return.
people.
Yep.
My Republican colleagues seem tired of hearing from the American people who are complaining about Elon Musk, President Trump, and Doge, because from refusing you see this because they're refusing to call the Secretary and Mr. Musk before this committee. You know this because their leadership are telling members to stop holding town hall meetings, refusing to meet with your constituents who are concerned about these issues. I've never seen such a thing in my entire time in this office. To my Republican colleagues, this problem will not just go away on its own. However, it can go away if you vote for this resolution and demand answers from this administration. The American people may have voted for change, but they did not vote for chaos. They did not vote to end Medicaid. They did not vote to fire more veterans than have ever been fired before in the history of this country. They did not vote to end or greatly reduce Social Security. I urge my colleagues to vote for this resolution, and let's get disclosure, let's get transparency, and let's get witnesses in this committee to tell us what they're doing and answer our questions on behalf of our constituents and the American people. I yield back.
Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is indeed a sad morning, very sad morning, when this committee, the oldest and most continuous in the Congress, neglects its responsibility and essentially holds this hearing today to block any further discussion.
Sorry, I was eating.
The men and women on this committee are good people. They're honest and caring people. And that's why I do not understand why you would relegate this committee to no longer being of significance and resort to saying you will do whatever Elon Musk and Donald Trump tell you to do. Where's the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? We're an equal branch of government. And you start off with a blather, and yet when we look at the empty seats here, where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great.
Hey, Republicans, where are your fucking balls? Because if I were to do this, because I would, if I was in the House of Representatives, if I were to do this, you'd gladly get rid of me at the behest of the Democrat Party. Where is your fucking balls? You little pussy ass bitches. Get rid of them. If they're going to do this shit, there was no reason for him to get that outraged that fucking quickly. Or, how about this? We just set it up to where we can have fucking fight matches. Because I want to fight this bitch right now. That is incredibly disrespectful. For him to sit up there and yell and scream because Elon Musk isn't there in front of his face so he can yell and scream at Elon Musk. Now, this bitch's face needs to go through that fucking table. Let's see how many times it takes for it to actually happen, right? They have nothing to fear, ladies and gentlemen, not even losing their fucking jobs. They have nothing to fear. So we're going to see more of this, especially from the Democrat Party. I mean, Al Green, everybody, all the Dems just made a fucking show while he was being censured on the House floor. And what did they do? Whatever. We're just going to adjourn. How about we just start clubbing these fuckers live on camera then? When they get out of line, somebody just comes up and just flapjacks the shit out of them. They'll learn. I guarantee it, they'll learn.
If these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so evident, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security. He's been on television the last couple of days talking exactly about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what he intends to do. Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night. People are aware of this. Every single one of your districts, all the money that comes in monthly, and you have not.
See, if I were the chair, I'd say if you continue to scream like this, you will be escorted out by your fucking feet. Keep your mouth shut. You're done.
You as a Congress have not done anything in more than 54 years. And now you have someone coming in to privatize a system, something you have longed to do going back to 1982, because Elon Musk thinks that this is the best thing to do. President Trump has called Social Security a scam. Elon Musk, as chairman, as Mr. Neal said, called it a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
Ask that of the people in your district.
Motherfucker, we're paying for our goddamn parents right now, you stupid son of a bitch. We're not going to have it by the time we're that age to be able to fucking take out Social Security because we're paying for the generation before us. It is a Ponzi scheme. You have dipped in it too fucking much, Mr. Larson. You owe Social Security out the ass. We should be sitting fucking pretty. But Congress, all throughout, 20, 30 fucking decades that it's existed, has dipped into it because there's been extra funds available. So you dip into it. And now I'm paying for my fucking parents. I'm paying for your parents. I'm paying for them. But when it comes my time, it ain't gonna be there. It is a fucking Ponzi scheme, you little son of a bitch, and you owe the taxpayers millions out of your own pockets, just like every son of a bitch that sits in Congress. Millions out of your own fucking pockets that you stole from the American people. And we want it back.
Ask that, Mr. Smith, of the more than 198,000 people in your district who rely on Social Security, and you won't even let the person who's planning to privatize it, who's telling the big lie in front of everyone, in bold as he possibly can, saying, this is what we're going to do. The Congress is in our back pocket. We don't even have to come before them and testify because we control the House, we control the Senate, and we control the presidency. And it's the tyranny of the executive. It's why
that's what the fuck you were doing 2 years ago, jackass.
Back in 1789. Because the founding fathers knew that the executive branch does not have total authority over the legislature.
Then why the fuck didn't you rein Biden in?
That says, no, we're going to do exactly what you tell us to do, Mr. Musk and Mr. President. It doesn't.
The speech and debate clause be damned. I would open up and I'd go the fuck off on him. I'd go the fuck off on him and say, if you continue to speak in my committee hearing, you will be removed. I am removing you from this committee altogether. Fuck you. Get the fuck out. I will be making a motion to expel you from Congress.
Matter to our constituents.
You did less for Santos.
It doesn't matter how much money they are not going to receive. We're not even going to tell them the truth about what's going to happen to them. And every single one of these districts where they're being shut down and their personnel, and as
You're
Mr.
just making
Neal
up
said,
shit
then
for,
after you
that's
cut
why you
and
gotta
eliminate
pause.
the people, say the agency isn't responding accordingly. No other agency operates for under less than 1%. With that, they administer to over.
I want you all to look that every damn time he tries to lean back, he looks at the monitor to see if the camera's still on him. every fucking time.
Over 70 million people in the nation's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and children. Shame! Shame! Can't bring
See, he's
people
looking
in front of this body. If he's right, if they're so good, if they're so just, why aren't they here telling the American people about it? They're not, because you know the truth. It's about privatization. I yield back.
No time to yield. Mr. Arrington?
I can hardly sit here. I was hoping to just let my Democrat colleagues sound off this morning, get through their one-act plays, but I can't. I can't sit here and listen to this grandstanding. They wear their armor of indignation proudly, but we know what's underneath that. And I hate to question the motives of my colleagues, but
it needs to be questioned.
This is
They're making bank
we
off
have
the
touched
American
a nerve,
people.
Mr. Chairman. And we have entered the inner sanctum of the Democrats' temple. And I think that holy grail is the government and their unionized government employees. And if you get anywhere near it, this is the reaction you're going to get. My friend said they didn't vote for these things. They didn't vote for this deep cleaning in the bureaucracy. They didn't vote for the kind of rooting out of waste and fraud, but they say that with a false narrative and with fear-mongering for Medicaid beneficiaries, and they try to scare, no sir, I got to finish this. They're trying to scare our seniors and scare the most vulnerable. That's a long-standing tactic. But the American people didn't vote for transgender operas in Colombia. But where's the indignation on that? I haven't heard a single person talk about that. What about the transgender comic books and the DEI musicals in Ireland and all this absurd and insulting example after example of just complete and utter wasting the taxpayer dollar? The GAO, the Government Accountability Office, that's a government entity, so you ought to bow down to that authority as well and accept it hook, line, and sinker for their data and statement on fraud, which is up to $5 trillion over the 10-year window. $5 trillion. Where is the outrage on all of that? I've never heard it, not one time. This is, I hear about the unelected billionaires because you all love class warfare. You love to divide people by race and gender and class. That is the MO. I mean, God, I love you guys as people, but your party is broken and bankrupt, and that's why the taxpayers put this president in office and gave us unilateral, unified Republican leadership, because they want us to make sure that their tax dollars are protected and that they're being spent wisely, and that we act as fiduciaries, and that the people who were intended to get benefits from these programs are getting them, but not illegal immigrants and not people that are not qualified. I see the list you're holding up. Enough with the theater. Where is the outrage? Are you not insulted by this list? You want me to read this list? You want me to go through the same list of indigenous people, inclusive justice, primary literacy, female empowerment, personalized 3D avatar tools for gender identities? This is stupid. This is stupid. Mr. Chairman, reclaiming my time.
You got your time.
Where was the concern for conflicts of interest and abuse of power when the IRS leadership and the special prosecutors from the Biden DOJ were obstructing the investigation into the Hunter Biden scheme? And your president said, I don't know anything about it, never been involved. And we knew that wasn't true, and we discovered it wasn't. But where was the drive and the passion that I see from you all, my colleagues, on that issue and the transparency or lack thereof for the last 2 or 3 years? I never see this until we're talking about the tip-to-tail audit of the federal government to root out wasteful spending and act as fiduciaries on behalf of the taxpayers. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable, but I think it's on such display today that the American people in their good judgment are reading right through it just like I am. And again, if you want to wander in the wilderness for 40 years, you're making a good case to do that to the American people. They're on our side on this issue. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Mr. Davis.
I move to strike the last word, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record this Democratic letter to Secretaries Bennett, Bessent, and Kennedy on the national new hires. And I yield 30 seconds to Representative Larson.
Without objection, so ordered.
To just say to my friend over there, I never heard him mention once Social Security. That's what we're talking about. I never heard you mention at all the 135,000 people in your district that rely on this. Have you told them about Elon Musk's plan? Have you told them about all the fraud and abuse that they're receiving? Is it fraud and abuse in your district for the 95,000 retirees, for the 14,000 disabled workers, for the 10,000 parents, for the 4,800 spouses, or the 9,000 children? That's what we're talking about. Social Security and the lack of your willingness to bring before us the person who has said they are going to privatize it and therefore cut and hurt these benefits of these individuals. Tell the truth. If you're for privatization, put your plan out there and vote on it.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman, President Trump allowed the biggest federal data breach in history when he allowed Elon Musk and his hackers to steal Americans' extremely private financial and health information.
Trying to make the background transparent, so it's just words floating on the screen.
We don't know if Mr. Musk will illegally stop one's Social Security, tax, or Medicare payments. We don't know if he'll sell our information to the highest bidder, or delay government contract payments, or grants to his competitors or people he dislikes. We don't know if the Musk hackers with histories of racism who took screenshots of private information and shared it with the Proud Boys. When Treasury erected some barriers to Doge, hackers waltzed into H.Res to get the tax data from the child support data sets. This committee has an obligation of oversight. Yet my Republican colleagues objectively refuse to exercise their constitutional obligation to ensure the executive branch follows the law. The Republican failure to protect our democracy, congressional authority, and American privacy is beyond alarming. This Republican oversight failure is coupled with the intense efforts to undermine tax enforcement for the wealthy. When the House passed CRR, the Republicans will champion a $41.8 billion rescission of funds to modernize the Internal Revenue Service and make sure wealthy tax cheats don't pay what they owe. The Trump administration is doing irreparable harm to our country and citizens by accessing the Treasury payment systems, and Democrats today are demanding that the Republicans step up and do their jobs, demand the answers from the administration owed to the American people.
Shit, what happened?
After the CR, $41.8 billion
Sorry, I'm fucking off too
would
much.
have been rescinded. Public Law 11805, 1.4 billion. FY24 Omni 20.2 billion. FY25 CR 20.2 billion. A sum total of 41.8 billion taken from the American people in a real kind of way. Mr. Chairman, this is unfair, unethical, and unconstitutional. I yield back.
Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend Representative Doggett for leading this resolution of inquiry regarding DOJ's access to the Treasury payment systems and confidential taxpayer information. The president has allowed Elon Musk to run rampant in federal agencies without any congressional oversight. Particularly egregious, and why we're all here today, is his access to all Treasury Department payments, including payments of Social Security and Medicare benefits. Congress can't sit idly by as our democratic institutions are dismantled by a billionaire from within. It's our duty to find out exactly what private and sensitive information is in the hands of Elon Musk and his Doge bros. I'm calling on my Republican colleagues to join us in this inquiry. Stand up for your constituents. Don't hide and refuse to hold town halls and to be accountable to the people who elected you to serve them. It's critical to ensure the integrity of Treasury's payment system and, more importantly, the privacy of Social Security, Medicare, and taxpayer information. President Trump's surrendering control of the government to Elon Musk is a direct attack on our democracy.
What up, Michael?
Congress's responsibility. It is a congressional responsibility to exert its oversight authority to prevent this constitutional overreach. The presidency is the most powerful position in the world, but a president without congressional oversight is just a king. And we don't have kings in a democracy. This shouldn't be a partisan fight. It's a fight for our democracy. It's a fight for our free and democratic institutions. Democrats are outraged, but we need our Republican colleagues to join us and stand up for the rule of law. You guys talk a great game when it comes to rule of law, but when it comes to exerting Congress's power as a co-equal branch of government, you guys are hiding in the shadows. Stand up for the people who elected you to come here and represent their interests. But if you won't even face them in a town hall and listen to them, should we be surprised that you don't want to exert that power to hold this administration accountable? I yield back the balance of my time.
Ms. Del Bene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to strike the last word. My constituents are confused and afraid, and rightly so. They want answers to very basic questions. They want to know why Donald Trump has given Elon Musk and his Doge team access to extremely sensitive, private, personal data that's supposed to be protected by the Treasury Department and the Social Security Administration. They want to know what Musk's unvetted and unqualified acolytes are doing with their Social Security numbers, their home addresses, their income levels, and confidential medical records that they were required to submit when applying for disability. They want to know how a president could support these unlawful breaches into the databases of taxpayers and Social Security recipients, which puts their livelihoods at risk. And as bad as that is, there's so much we don't know. That's why we're asking Republicans to join us and vote for these resolutions of inquiry. This is pretty simple. They ask very simple questions like, what confidential taxpayer information has Elon Musk and Doge accessed? Why is this controversial? We are a co-equal branch of government. We are in charge of oversight. If you feel like there's no concerns here, then why wouldn't you want that information to be out in the public for people to be able to ask questions and get a response? This should be easy if you're not concerned. Instead, Republicans are hiding. And that's why we're sitting here at this moment. You know, before Congress, I was the director of the Washington State Department of Revenue. And so I know firsthand how important it is to protect sensitive information from bad actors in order to maintain public trust in government. And now the public wants to know if our government is the bad actor, illegally sharing personally sensitive data that could result in your identity being stolen or your medical records being leaked. You know, I have been pushing for nearly a decade to pass a national data privacy law to put people back in charge of their data and protect personal information. What is more personal than your social security number or your medical history or your financial history? So, and especially when we look at medical history, we've seen Republicans going after women seeking reproductive care. People are worried about healthcare being cut, targeting those with pre-existing conditions or whoever else they want to target next. Of course, people are concerned about how information will be used. We should be trying to strengthen privacy laws, not undermine existing laws by letting random DOJ staffers breach existing law by accessing private taxpayer data.
I got to tweak everything.
This should be a bipartisan effort to get answers to questions, and it's incredibly disappointing to see Republicans trying to avoid even the most basic questions from being asked. And as Congresswoman Sanchez suggested too, maybe not surprising if folks aren't even willing to have a town hall and listen to their constituents. So it's important that we ask these questions, and it's important that we get answers. And I yield back.
Mr. Smucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's fascinating this morning to hear
there is
feigned
no public
outrage
trust in
of,
government.
the Democrats today. It's as if they haven't heard the message of this previous election, like it never occurred. I can tell you, in my district, what the American people wanted was to prioritize America, prioritize the American people over the bureaucracy, over the massive federal government. You know today that government spending is over one-third of GDP. This is what the Democrats are defending. Over 3 million employees in the federal government alone, not including state and local. And the fallacies that have been brought up here today, Social Security being privatized, no one has mentioned that. In fact, the president has said he wants to protect Social Security. Look at his record in his first 4 years. No, that I will not yield. Look at his record in the first 4 years. He did nothing to change Social Security in any way. And he said multiple times he's going to protect Social Security, going to protect Medicare. And I can tell you, every Republican on this side of the aisle believes and agrees that we should protect the vulnerable among us. We should protect those programs for individuals who truly need them and who have been paying into the system. So it's bizarre. It's outrageous, the kind of things that they've been saying. Now, let's talk a little bit about
it's in live chat now,
Musk. And Mr. Larson in particular knows that Social Security will be bankrupt in 9 years or 10 years. At that point, no, I'm not going to yield. You had your time. You had your time. Will be in 9 or 10 years, projections show that what is owed in Social Security will be more than we're taking in. So you ought to be extremely happy if we're finding waste in the system. Because every dollar of waste in Social Security, in Medicare, in every other program, every dollar of waste and fraud is a dollar that is available to the people, to the recipients who deserve that service. So, you know, many presidents have tried this. We've seen under the Clinton years, they trimmed back the federal workforce. Nixon talked about it. But this is finally a president who's willing to take on the bureaucracy and really make a difference. 3 million employees. You don't think that we can find some ways to trim? And you know, we've heard reports here, there's waste all over the place, there's fraud. And what Mr. Musk is finding could impact our deficit in a big way. The American people know that we're bankrupt. The American people The American people
let's
know
see.
we're bankrupt. Just
Yeah,
think
we're
of
good.
this. This year, we're spending $7 trillion and we're taking in $5 trillion. You're all voting to, you're arguing to keep that. If we don't change our course, we're going to see a sovereign debt crisis, and every American is going to be
Will the gentleman
impacted.
yield?
No, I'm not going to yield.
You voted to
You have
yesterday.
You'll have your time. I'm not yielding.
Good.
We
Don't
will have
fucking
a
yield.
sovereign debt crisis if we don't change course. And where we
sorry,
should
I felt like
start
that was
is
loud.
exactly what the president is doing. Root out every bit of waste and fraud that we can find. That's where we should start. It might make an amazing difference. This is why, by the way, I think you're on the wrong side of this. I think the American people
All right,
are going
there
to
we go.
see the kind of waste and fraud. They
Maybe.
support this. Why do you think today the majority of the American people support what Elon Musk is doing? Why do you think today the majority of the American people support what the president is doing? And one other thing. You keep talking about him, he should be right here. You can follow what he's doing. He's doing interviews. He's got Doge.gov. He's uncovering what he's doing. This is not someone who is doing this in the dark. He's being very open about what is happening. So again, I think you're on the wrong side.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, he's got his own website. He's putting everything out that he's finding. He's doing everything transparent, but he's not in front of us so we can yell and scream at him. This is your Democrat Party. And again, this is your taxpayer dollars at work. How happy are you with this?
Side of this, the American people side with us today. They sided with us in this previous election, and you keep this up, they're going to be siding with us with many elections to come.
You're damn right.
Thank you. I will make sure that whenever we give 5 minutes to each member, it's honored without disruption. When a member says they do not yield, do not continue to go after the member and try to take away their time. Ms. Hsu.
Shut the hell
I
up,
move to
dude.
strike the
You
last
shut
word.
your mouth.
In the absence of any strength from Republicans and delusional statements about access to Musk, and with Representative Doggett's leadership, Ways and Means Democrats are stepping
I gotta create it
in
here.
to do what the
All right, hold up.
majority on this committee has refused to do. Fulfill our constitutional responsibility to conduct actual oversight and finally get answers from the Trump administration about what exactly Elon Musk and Doge accessed, altered, downloaded, or used when they were improperly given access to Treasury's payment systems and taxpayers' protected confidential information. Now, Representative Moore and I tried to get answers directly from the Speaker and the Treasury Secretary. We then urged the Speaker and the Chairman to hold a proper hearing in this committee to get answers from Musk and Treasury officials.
That is still set to chop.
And Ways and Means Democrats have sent letters and introduced amendments to demand answers from the administration. But so far, Republicans have refused to act.
Okay, and switching from chop chat on
This
screen.
resolution of inquiry is only necessary because in the face of extremely troubling facts, Republicans
switch it on
have
screen.
pretended not
Oh,
only
that's
that
fucked
there's
up.
nothing
Okay.
wrong, but that Congress has no right to even understand what Musk and Doge are doing. It is astounding to think that Republicans have been so unquestionably submissive and obedient to Trump and Musk that they cannot even bring themselves to even ask questions about their actions and whether it invades taxpayer confidentiality, let alone question the firing of many
It still runs
thousands
off the
of
same,
federal employees,
URL.
including
I don't know, I'll
80,000
check
from the
into it.
Veterans Administration, and the firings of inspector generals who are to have oversight over all our federal departments.
But
I remind my
do
colleagues that it
this.
was just last year that Democrats joined you in passing legislation to increase penalties for violating taxpayer confidentiality. It is the height of hypocrisy not to support this resolution of inquiry. But Dems will not be submissive and obedient. Democrats are demanding answers on behalf of all our constituents who are also demanding to know what Elon Musk has done with our confidential information. I urge support for both resolutions of inquiry under consideration today, and I would yield the balance of my time to Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Congresswoman Chu. I just want to point out that, you know, the righteous indignation that we heard from some of my colleagues on the Republican side of the dais just amazes me. You know, this idea that nothing was done in the dark in all of this. For crying out loud, you all heard the guy say that people 300 years old are collecting Social Security. That statement is made by someone who's absolutely full of prunes. The one gentleman who was referring to all this waste, fraud, and abuse is the chair of the Budget Committee. If there's all this waste, fraud, and abuse, why haven't you guys ferreted that out and brought it forward? You've been in charge for the last 3 years. The time, I'm up pretty high on this dais, so I've been around a while. 74% of the time that I've been in Congress, I've been in the minority. So are you saying that because there's all this waste, fraud, and abuse, you guys have been asleep at the switch? And I'll guarantee you, none of my constituents and none of your constituents voted the way they voted to end Medicaid, to privatize Social Security, to fire thousands of veterans from the good jobs and the good work that they're doing. That is just absurd to think that that's the case. If there is waste, fraud, and abuse, we should be working together to find it. The inspectors generals most certainly should not have been fired. They're the ones on the point of the spear who are charged with doing that. This empty witness seat in front of us speaks volumes towards the insincerity that we're seeing today. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back and now recognize Ms. Moore for 5 minutes. Strike the last word.
I move to strike the last word, Mr. Chairman.
You recognize.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank my colleagues.
I want to try to make it
so I don't want to feign any outrage here. I just want to
make it a little more
the
clear.
main thing the main thing.
That should be it. Okay.
What we're talking about here
Filters.
is a resolution that of Mr. Dawkins
Color.
that I co-sponsored is a resolution of inquiry regarding the accessing of our private taxpayer data by
All right, so that's Rumble.
an unelected, someone who is actually ineligible to run for president, multi-billionaire who's had no Senate confirmation,
Now, check this out.
No oath of office, no ethics training or anything that he's taken, and he has violated Section 6103. Now, I've been on this committee long enough to really see the outrage that we have had on this committee about violations of Section 6103. And I just want to remind you, Mr. Chairman, that we were so outraged that we increased the penalties. You know, don't forget, we increased penalties on violations of Section 6103. And so we simply are making an inquiry as to what this man is doing with our data, why he's accessing it, and that's really a fair question. And what do we find ourselves facing when we do this? All these non sequiturs, you know, trans people and what money is spent on condoms and, you know, I mean, if you don't, you know, undocumented immigrants, that's what we do for a living. We voted, you know, we've got very qualified, capable people on the Appropriations Committee on your side, you know, who can go through, you know, budget, you know, account by account and eliminate what you call waste, fraud, and abuse. It's a non sequitur because that has nothing to do whether that's true or not. If someone is getting a Social Security check and they're 300 years old, that's a terrible thing. But it doesn't have anything to do with an ineligible person accessing our data. And so I just want to make sure that we stay on the subject. We're not talking about trans people today, or the 0.002% of people in America who apparently are trans people. We're not talking about undocumented immigrants. And we certainly are not talking about anointing an unelected, naturalized citizen, not born here in America, citizen, who's a billionaire, to be able to march in with federal marshals, even at the direction, and to literally threaten people out of their seats to access our information. So now, if this is not a crime,
I'm doing things, brother. I'm building
which
while
is
I
what
go.
I think it is, then we should have Mr. Musk sitting there explaining to us how going through our Social Security information, our taxpayer information, is going to rid us of the problem of trans people. How it's going to solve, how it's going to reconcile, you know, the majority party's concerned about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, what's the plan for excluding people through going through our personal information? It's a non sequitur. And I would yield the last 55 seconds to my good friend, Mr. Larson.
Mr. Larson is recognized.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. And let me say, having both chaired the Social Security Subcommittee and now being the ranking member, I get upset.
Oh, bitch boy.
Because of what's happening to the American people. These are good and decent people on both sides of the aisle. But fundamentally, you're telling me that there is no obligation to have the man who's been placed in charge of finding $2 trillion in cuts, who has said publicly,
All right, let me see if this works right.
on more than one occasion, that yes, 70% of the
push a
budget
button.
is
I'm just changing it
Medicare,
up.
Medicaid, Social Security, and defense.
I get.
And that's what we're going
We
after.
get this somewhere.
Only one of those areas has a trust fund of $2,700,000,000.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Stop crying, sir.
Thank you. I now
You already made an
recognize
ass of
Mr.
yourself.
Kelly to strike the last word.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to yield my time to Mr. Smucker.
Mr. Smucker is recognized.
Just like to make a point in regards to access to taxpayer information. I would assume that every employee of the IRS has access to taxpayer information. I would assume, particularly those who are auditing accounts, are going to have access to some taxpayer information. And I just want to remind folks listening that the Democrats just last year were advocating to hire tens of thousands more, maybe as many as 80,000 additional auditors, or at least people in the IRS, all of who have had access to taxpayer information. We're talking maybe 100 people here who have potential access to taxpayer information.
Will the gentleman yield?
No. And I want to remind one other thing.
Okay, that works.
There was a leak of taxpayer information, a massive leak. And we're learning that may have been 450,000 taxpayers' information or more. And I didn't hear a lot of outrage from Democrats because it matched their political narrative. That, you know, it was the taxpayer information of some of the highest income earners. And I heard a lot of Democrats celebrating, maybe not here, but a lot of Democrats across the country celebrated that an independent contractor who did have access to taxpayer information released that information to the American public. Where was the outrage we're hearing today then? Where was the outrage then? I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Boyle is recognized to strike the last word.
I like
Thank
this.
you, Mr. Chair. You know, I would encourage everyone, not just the members of this committee, but everyone who is watching and listening to read this resolution. It'll only take you a couple minutes. It's just 2 pages. This is about as straightforward a resolution as it gets. I honestly don't understand why anyone would vote against this. It is providing all of us necessary information about what exactly has been accessed. That's important information if you care about privacy, if you care about security, and frankly, I would think that if those who are involved with Mr. Musk's effort are proud of the work they're doing, I would think they would want this information to be out. Why wouldn't we want to give taxpayers and all the American people transparency? Why wouldn't we want a full airing of exactly what has been accessed? The logs, the documents, our private information. I'll save any comments about Social Security until later when we're on that resolution, but specifically in Treasury, they have access to our Social Security numbers, date of birth, home address, our full employment history, salary. If some 21-year-old frat bro working for Elon Musk has access to that, I would rather like to know it. I think the folks who I represent, 765,000 of them in the city of Philadelphia, absolutely want to know who is seeing their most private data and most private information. I think that that transcends whether one is a Democrat, Republican, independent, voter, or non-voter. I think, frankly, it is just common sense. And at the very least, this is something that all of us as fellow Americans should be able to vote and provide that level of transparency to the American people. And those who don't want to provide that level of transparency, it raises questions.
The ability I have here.
Why don't they want that transparency? Now, I have a few further things I could say, but I want to yield to my good friend and colleague, Mr. Doggett of Texas, the 2.5 minutes remaining.
Well, thank you very much. We've heard a lot of huffing and puffing. We've heard distraction to foreign aid and many other issues, but not one of the Republicans who have challenged this resolution have given us any reason, any explanation as to why Musk needs every American's taxpayer data, their banking, their Social Security records, and who knows what else. These federal databases that the Musketeers have sought access to even contain sensitive information on child custodial arrangements that are used in administering the child tax credit. And so while tax season is underway, American taxpayers particularly deserve some answers. And I've been getting calls from people in Austin expressing concern and suggesting that they want to delay the filing of their tax return this year because they're not sure that they want an unelected billionaire going through it and invading their privacy on some illegitimate fishing expedition. A number of these constituents have questioned whether they can be sure that their information is safe. Some are holding off on filing, and in fact, they're not alone. Because so far this tax filing season, about 2 million fewer Americans have filed their taxes compared to the same period last year. The young genius hackers that Musk hired as Musketeers had their own website hacked last month, raising questions about their ability to protect this data. Now, I'm particularly pleased that
you have no
Mr.
idea how hard that shit is, do you?
Mentioned Mr. Nixon.
Seriously,
we have
you don't.
had a previous criminal in the White House,
Jesus
and his name
fuck.
was Richard Nixon. And because of his lawlessness, this Congress reacted, finally, belatedly, to the Watergate events. And one of the things that Congress did, because a lawless Nixon administration attempted to weaponize the IRS against its opponents, was to pass a new law. And it's that new law that's being disregarded. It required that taxpayer data be treated as strictly confidential, not subject to inspection or disclosure, except in the very most limited circumstances. A penalty of 5 years in federal prison could apply. And the Congress also passed the Privacy Act of 1974, both in reaction to a lawless president. Now we have lawless invasion of those
Yeah, I can't do that.
records
Those zeros are
again.
gonna have to stay.
And it's
Oh, wait.
incumbent on this committee to fulfill its responsibilities
Gentleman's
rather
time
than
has
to
expired.
yield all of its power to Musk and Trump.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Byer to strike the last word.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I move to strike the last word.
Gentleman's recognized.
The resolution of inquiry is simple. Support it, and you honor the transparency Elon Musk promised us. Oppose it, and you believe that the activity Elon Musk is conducting should remain hidden from the American public. The activity where he and his team of special government employees gain access to sensitive databases. This is one of the concerns I'm hearing in an uproar from my constituents, including conservatives and Republicans. There's absolutely no reason DOJ should be trying to access Treasury payment systems and confidential taxpayer information without permission, without approval from the American public and Congress. And I'm deeply concerned that this conduct is breaking many laws that Congress has put in place. I led an investigation earlier this week with my colleagues Jamie Raskin and Maxwell Frost to the Office of Government Ethics, inquiring about the potential criminal exposure of the volunteers and the employees of DOJ, to ensure that those individuals know that their ethical and legal responsibilities under the law, particularly conflicts of interest. We know that the statute of limitations is up to 5 years, so that's
100%
past the
could be.
length of this
I'm all
administration.
for term limits.
And violations can lead to criminal
Term limits
penalties up
gotta
to
happen
5
now.
years in prison with additional financial penalties. And I'm deeply concerned that these violations are happening left and right. And those fears could be assuaged with the transparency that has been promised to us. And by the way, who is doing it? Has Marco Elez been rehired to continue working on Treasury payments? You can't tell me that a government efficiency requires self-described racists access to government's most private information. I urge everyone to support this resolution and provide much-needed transparency into why and how Musk has sought Treasury payment information in America's sensitive data. If no laws have been
Oh,
broken,
what up, Rick? I didn't
there's
see you
nothing to
come in,
hide.
brother.
And the defining feature of this 119th Congress has been his abdication of responsibility,
Yeah,
running
see, I
in
got a
fear
new
from our
look with
constitutional
everything now.
authority on trade,
I'm building
on
as we go,
appropriations,
too.
on national security. My number one question for my constituents is, when will your Republican colleagues step up and do their jobs? We should not continue that today. And Mr. Chairman, I yield the balance of my time to Congressman Doggett.
Thank you very much. So let's turn to the multiple efforts of DOJ to invade Americans' privacy. Republicans cannot justify and have not justified for 1 second this morning why that invasion occurred. And they refuse to bring anyone. They leave the witness chair empty for us to inquire regarding what happened here and how much damage was done. So we proceed without full information, but what we do know is that first Mr. Musk sought tax information that is housed in the Treasury's Bureau of Fiscal Services. And when the former nonpartisan top career official at the Treasury Department, a trusted guardian of Americans' privacy under both Republican and Democratic presidents for more than 35 years, when he rebuffed Musk and said he wanted to protect the privacy as he had done for 3 decades, he was pushed aside. While administration officials initially testified that DOJ was granted read-only, they were just going to read and invade our privacy that way, the sensitive data, they were later forced to admit that the Musketeers had both read and write. That is, they can make changes in the sensitive databases related to federal tax
know why we
returns,
were
Social
still looking to
Security
bring it that long.
benefits, supplemental Social Security income benefits, and pay for veterans. Not satisfied with this temporary
All right, that looked
access
gay as
to
shit.
American
I'm not gonna lie.
families' financial information, Musk then came for some of the even more highly guarded taxpayer data that's contained in the IRS Integrated Data Retrieval System. This is a system to
Would you
which
rather me do
access
this?
is denied to political officials, even the IRS commissioner, the taxpayer advocate, and the IRS
I'll
chief
stay in my
information
corner.
officer. And I want to respond directly to you, Mr. Smucker, about that and your claim that there were hundreds of additional people that we wanted to have go into all this data. What we
Muffin, I am
wanted was to enforce
5'7".
the tax laws. We wanted the
5'6" and a
tax
half.
cheats to be brought to justice. Y'all took the cop off the beat. But let me make this point. The data that Musk and the Musketeers are seeking, that they perhaps got exposed, is
The
data that
Musketeers.
is so sensitive that even the IRS commissioner is not entitled to see it. That is protected data, protected until this happened. And the claim that because some of it that they got was anonymous, would not get into the privacy was rebutted by Mr. Barthold when I questioned him as the head of the Joint Committee on Taxation, an independent, nonpartisan group, who explained to us how that data could be used when Mr. Musk and his AI and his minions and his musketeers get together and compare these databases.
Y'all gotta stop with that dumb shit. I'm sorry.
Adopt this resolution.
Y'all gotta stop with that dumb shit. Musketeers and yeah.
Gentleman yields, now
Can we get
recognize
somebody
Mr.
smart
Evans
up here,
to strike the
please?
last word.
Anybody intelligent.
Mr. Chairman, this conversation led by Mr. Doggett.
The gentleman could speak into the microphone.
This conversation led by Mr. Doggett, I think he needs to get mail. So I'd like to yield my time to Mr. Doggett.
God.
Thank you very much for that. There are two laws that Mr. Musk and DOJ are ignoring. They are Section 6103 of the Internal Revenue Code and the Privacy Act of 1974. Section 6103, which has been before this committee on numerous occasions, protects the confidentiality of tax returns and return
There was a guy who just gave him
including
more time.
all of the tax return information that is received or collected by the Internal Revenue Service. The Privacy Act of 1974 was designed to provide individual Americans with more control over the government
6-inch high heels. That frightens
disseminating
me.
and using our private information. What's happened to the libertarians in the Republican Party who once believed that government was a challenge and that the privacy of American citizens should be protected from the overreach of government? What we have here is an overreach without justification.
Oh, hell yeah, they are, Mike.
Why is it necessary
They
in
lying like a
fighting
motherfucker.
waste, fraud, and abuse to interfere with the personal data of American citizens, every American citizens? The issues that we have before us today are that DOJ has also sought access to what are called omnibus sharing agreements. This is another aspect I've not touched
just
on
watching
so
this
far.
hearing is government
These
waste. It
omnibus
is.
sharing agreements would let Musk link individual tax data across a whole host of different.
It is, but I will tell you this, BA. This is the best way to actually find out what the government can publicly tell you about whatever situation, whatever bill. This is the most open and transparent our government really is. For them to be able to say these things, for them to be able to ask these things openly, that they would be able to tell the public. It's a good way to judge who's actually paying attention and who's actually trying versus who just wants to obstruct shit, who just wants to throw a fit. And for a long damn time, it's been Democrats. Even with the do-nothing Republican Congress, the 118th, that was all Democrats that obstructed every bit of that shit. They sit there, they did nothing. They passed these little, change of post office name bills. That's all they did. Everything else was blocked by the Democrats because all they needed was just a few Republicans to vote with them. And those few Republicans didn't come up for re-election. Most of them. Some of them lost. This is a good way of paying attention of who is actually giving a shit. Find out who your district rep is. Make sure you're listening to hearings that they're in. And make sure they align with you.
Federal agencies. A federal statute makes it unlawful for the
Our green
IRS
screen's
to
looking
share
bad now.
taxpayer data with other agencies for reasons unrelated to the administration of our tax system. New York University Tax Law Center experts indicate that such an omnibus information sharing agreement across agencies would not conform with the strict rules of 6103 that govern how and when taxpayer information can be shared. And so, again, here is an area that needs to be explored other than through an empty witness chair to find out about the extent of the violation of federal law with this sharing agreement that has been rubber stamped by the administration. And most recently, just last week, Mr. Musk came for more of Americans' private information stored in the child support database that is used to enforce court-ordered child support payments.
You mean child support that has been fucking used and abused for a long ass time against men?
Receives tax data that has a detailed data sharing agreement with IRS, and they have to comply with those taxpayer privacy protections when that goes over to the Department of Health and Human Services. Unfortunately, Health and Human Services is now run by the vaccine denier Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he, not disregarding really those requirements, he gave DOJ exactly what they asked for. It's simply outrageous that Americans' private and personal financial information has not been protected from the prying eyes of an unelected billionaire and his teenage musketeers. At a bare minimum, Congress and the American people need a full accounting of what data has been shared with Musk and DOJ and for what purposes. And despite all the rhetoric on the other side, we have absolutely no explanation as to why that right of Americans for a full accounting is not being provided, why it is being obstructed and blocked by the Republicans. Answers to this resolution of inquiry on behalf of all the Democrats on this committee will provide us with a little of that accounting. Only then can we begin to move forward as a bipartisan majority, as the bipartisan majority did over 50 years ago when there was criminality from another Republican president in the wake of the Watergate scandal, and address the shortcomings of the enforcement of our tax privacy law and begin to restore taxpayer trust in our voluntary tax system. The Republicans basically say they don't know and they don't care what Musk is doing with your personal tax return, your Social Security information, your health data, anything concerning child custody. And by blocking this resolution, they just want to ensure that no questions are asked and no information about this likely violation of multiple federal laws ever becomes public. That's why we should adopt this resolution, and I yield back.
Not to mention RP. RP Game says RFK is not a vax denier. He has questions about therapeutics and how much we are pushing in the short periods, but he and his kids are fully vaccinated. Yes. They were saying he was a vaccine denier and racist because he pointed out how the jabby jab could be targeted by certain genetic markers in certain groups of people. And why bioengineering can make viruses that don't work against certain groups of people and only work against certain groups of people. That's where the racist vaccine, well, the vaccinator, because he started questioning the jab, the shot, you know. And then the racist thing started talking about, because he talked about how that could be engineered to go after certain people, to certain races. You could just make a virus, just take out all Chinese people. Anybody with any kind of Chinese descent within their genetic code, let's say 20%. Anybody 20% or less Chinese, you did. You know, something like that. Now, it didn't get that deep into the conversation to actually say something like that, but yeah, that's the way they were headed with it. Him and Joe Rogan. I think it was Joe Rogan, wasn't it? Or yeah, that was Rogan. I think. Not sure. I'll have to check that one back. But I remember that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to strike the last word. Thank you. So many things we've said today. We've been here mostly talking past each other on a lot of different things. Earlier it was suggested that we're missing the message of the previous election. And,
I don't know, KB.
I think the message of the last election was
other than the fact you know they ain't going to vote to give up their own power.
And it was pocketbook issues. It was people saying, help us.
Especially
we don't
with
want to
people
just
like
have an easier
McConnell
time making ends meet.
Lindsey Graham.
We want to be able to get ahead and give our kids a
Adler.
better future.
You ain't getting rid of them.
The message of the
Swalwell.
last election was not privatize Social Security, make it harder to have security and dignity in retirement. It wasn't cutting access to health care for 70 million people by slashing Medicaid. It wasn't giving up our personal data to an unelected bureaucrat, billionaire, oligarch, so we can profit off of that data and do God knows what else. So I'm proud to join my Democratic colleagues today
to demand that the Trump administration and Elon Musk are providing this body, as is our responsibility,
I like the way
accurate
I can control
information
this.
on what they are doing with the data of
Like I can
Americans
boost the
they
volume
are
of the
capturing
video
from
if
the
it's too
Department of
loud for
Treasury.
y'all. Or
Elon
boost
Musk
it
and
or
his
lower it,
team
you
are
know?
unelected and unvetted.
I got full control
The
now.
so-called Department of Government Efficiency is accessing private systems they are doing so laden with their own personal conflicts and ethical concerns. They have no business rummaging around taxpayers' private financial data and information. Unfortunately, we're seeing at every turn, DOGE is trying to access not just Treasury information, but information of all the departments that they have with our personal information, including our individual Social Security numbers, our home address, our bank account information, and so much more. Now, I know from personal experience, 20 years ago, I had my identity stolen.
Yeah.
We caught it very quickly, likely within hours, and yet it took me years to take care of all of the implications that had. We all get notifications in the mail that this system or that system has been breached and what actions we should be taking.
Ashkenazi Jews and
We
many
should be
Chinese had a strong
protecting American
resistance to the
citizens' information in
COVID-19
this
virus.
committee.
He brought
And yet
that
what
up,
I'm
and
hearing
that's
from my
what made
colleagues
him
on the other
racist.
side is talk about fraud, waste, and abuse. We agree. Everyone on this committee says we should be looking for ways to make government more efficient and more effective, and looking for ways to put in place systems to catch and punish fraud, waste, and abuse. But we're allowing unelected officials to access personal identity
What's up, Ms. Hayes?
that can give them great power over the American people, and used improperly can cause great damage.
Here's the thing, Ms. Hayes. They all know it. They all know it. They're fighting because we have found their little slush funds, their laundering schemes, their pocketbooks. We have found their backdoor deals with this, and that's why they're raging out about Elon Musk. I mean, all these, wasn't it too long ago that we were questioning how, like, what was it, $1.7 million went to lizards running on treadmills? Yeah, it turns out that study actually does exist. I threw it up in the Discord. $1.6 million, $1.7 million for that shit just to say, yeah, they can, but it's not a natural state for them. No shit, motherfucker. They were checking respiration, body temperature. They were checking everything with it. And it's just like, why? Why do we? I mean, $1.6 million, $1.7 million for that? I mean, what the treadmill cost? A couple hundred. What a lizard cost? A couple hundred. Feed it, water it, keep it going, just keep it moving with it. Keep it warm. Couple $100,000 on the high end of that shit for about a year. No, that 100,000. Fuck that. No. For a lizard, treadmill, electricity, food, everything for one person to do it. I'd say 100,000 for one person to do it for a year. Where'd the rest of that money go? It's shit like that. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're watching. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing when we take a look at this shit, like the Ukraine shit. Back in what? It wasn't but a year, almost a year after, a little after a year after the war. They said, hey, only 30% of everything you send actually reaches the front line. The rest of the 70% of that shit is all for their economy back home and to keep them the fuck afloat. We gave them the equivalent of 6 months worth of their fucking monthly income. Meanwhile, during COVID, you got what? $600, $1,200, $2,400 at one point. Or if you had kids. That didn't do much for you, but we gave them 6 fucking months worth, and they were setting off our rockets and shit while they were partying it up, using our rockets for fucking fireworks in their night sky. Zelensky threw 2 of our fucking rockets into Poland's fucking border and then told NATO, Russia did it. Don't look into it. Don't think twice about it. Just attack. Article 5 right now. Ukraine bombed the pipeline and made it look like Russia did it, which coincidentally made us think we did it. We actually had evidence of it going on, but it was the actual Ukrainian that planted the bombs in the Nord Stream pipeline. Yeah, there's a lot to that. There's a lot to that. It's a deeper story than everybody realizes. But let's continue. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
The systems at the Department of Treasury contain sensitive, extensive details about all of our individuals' lives. Now, Elon Musk wants you to think that he is a patriot, but he is far from it. He is not interested in keeping that private data safe. In fact, we suspect he is more interested in using that private data to enrich himself. Allowing unvetted and inexperienced personnel to access this system is a recipe for disaster, leaving taxpayers' sensitive information vulnerable, either by DOJ or by external actors. What we're asking today, and I am astonished that my colleagues are not joining us in this on the other side of the aisle, what we are asking for today is that the American people understand and know with confidence what DOJ's access of their personal information and how they are using it. It's that simple. Since my Republican colleagues refuse to apply the normal standards of transparency to DOJ, we are forced to do so with this resolution today. And if I can extend to other things that might have been said, that were said earlier, we did scream out loud and vociferously when people accessed information. My colleagues suggested that employees at the IRS have access to our personal tax records. Some have access to some records when they have a necessary reason to do so. They can't rummage through the system. We had a hearing in this committee talking about that. No one has access to everything over there until last month when Elon Musk and his Doge bros, young people who lack experience, are exuding in overconfidence and believe they know more than the elected officials sitting on this body, they have access to it today. We should all be upset. And I am astonished by the silence, the acquiescence, the submissiveness of my Republican colleagues to let the executive branch to do the responsibilities that should be our responsibility assigned to us in the Constitution, in this committee. And I wish we could join together to ask for this information to protect the American people. I yield back.
Oh, can I have your 4 seconds?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Schneider, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a unanimous consent request to place in the record the Taxpayer Bill of Rights,
does a little flash.
really elucidates the right to
I don't know why that's happened.
of confidentiality and privacy.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for the extra time.
Maybe there
Mr.
does need to
Gomez.
be a little bit of a fade between.
Mr. Horsford.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. I move to strike their last word. To the American people, I want you to hear this.
Okay.
Today, we are voting for transparency in government. There is only one person who's unelected and a bureaucrat who is causing havoc throughout the government. That is Elon Musk and his hackers. Now, my constituents
click on that, my bad.
need and want to know
I can't even right-click?
who
Fuck it.
accessed their sensitive
I'll
data
stop fucking around then.
and for what
I
purpose.
promise.
I want you to know that this
I'm not going to stop
inquiry
fucking around.
specifically states that within 14 days, the president provide and direct to the Department of the Treasury, to the House of Representatives, all communications related to the access to or the use
here I go. I ain't
of the
stopping.
Treasury payment system by Doge, Elon Musk, or any member of his team. It also calls for the access to or use of confidential tax returns or tax return information by Doge, Elon Musk, or a member of his team, and any screenshots taken of the data or records
I
in
made
the
myself
Treasury
look
payment
really
system
fucked.
by Doge, Elon Musk, or a member of his team. This is common sense. This resolution of inquiry is simple. We are doing our duty as elected members of Congress. I don't work for Elon Musk, and he wasn't elected to do anything on behalf of the American people. So I'm asking for simple information, information that should be shared with Congress. Now, to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I want to work with you on government efficiency. There's several of you that we are actually in those efforts involved with. I want to be able to identify ways to make government work for the working people of this country. But there's a way to do it, and this is not it. Chaos only breeds further chaos, and my constituents are scared, they're worried, they're concerned about their personal information being used by Elon Musk and his hackers. From Pahrump to Mesquite, my office has received calls from constituents concerned about their information being stolen, and they have a right to know by whom and for what purpose. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. My constituents deserve to know why an unelected bureaucrat, Elon Musk, who is the richest person in the world, and his hackers are illegally accessing tax data, Social Security information, bank information. Why do they have it, and what is the purpose? That is the purpose of this inquiry. I am defending the rights of my constituents to know
Well done, KB. Well
what
done.
has been accessed, by whom, and for what purpose. I don't understand for the life of
You may
me
be gayer
how
than the
my
first
colleagues
guy.
on the other side would not support this resolution. I'm here to defend my constituents. That's what I was elected to do. Elon Musk.
Let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. This whole thing is actually about finding ways to fund things, cutting funding from other things, and pumping it into other things. This is what the Ways and Means Committee does. Have you heard any argument from a Democrat so far about, hey, maybe if we cut something like right here, we could pump that money into this area that you guys care so much about instead of taking it from this area? By the way, there is Stacey Plaskett. She actually cannot vote. She has a say. She has a voice, but she cannot vote. She is the missing link between Cro-Magnon and modern man. It's going to be funny if she shows up, but I'm just saying. I haven't heard an argument yet. Not a single one. It's always been, oh my God, Elon Musk. Oh my God, Orange Man bad. There has never been anything like says, hey, maybe can we cut this instead of this? And that would pay for that. None of it. And that's your Democrat Party. Just complain and complain and complain with no real idea how to fix the problems that they've created, by the way.
You were elected to do absolutely nothing. Get your grubby hands off of the data of the people of America and the information that they're entitled to remain confidential. With that, I yield back.
Ms. Van Dyne.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Democrats keep criticizing Republicans for not bringing Elon Musk as a witness to speak about Doge's work. If my Democrat colleagues want to bring Mr. Musk in for a witness so badly, why don't they invite him to appear as a witness?
Right.
Democrats are allowed to invite anyone as a witness who can answer their questions about Doge. Has anybody asked?
Ma'am, they're afraid he actually might sit down and actually talk. But here's the thing. No, what they want to do is they want to bring on people from the Cato Institute. They want to bring on all these experts that have absolutely nothing to do with what they're talking about, so they can ask him basic run-of-the-mill fucking questions where the person's already lined up to agree with him and kiss ass. That's what we mean when we go through these, and I point out who was the shill, or we play that little game. I take the little poll. Who's the shill? Who's the witness shill? It's that person that's there just to kiss the ass of the minority party. And when Democrats are in the House, the Republicans did it too. I'm not going to lie. But yeah. They're doing it this way right now so they can scream and yell and make you do it. Because if you do it to shut them up, they feel like they've won something. It's really fucking weird.
Actually invited him? Okay, we have not seen any of that. During the Oversight Subcommittee's hearing on February 11th, Democrats invited Nina Olson as a witness. You had an opportunity. You chose Nina Olson as a witness. And you asked her several questions about DOJ having access to taxpayer information. Republicans invited Christine Kochelek, a managing director for a financial management insurance team at GAO's office. She was there specifically for the purpose of answering questions related to access to Treasury's payment systems. And when I asked her directly, has any proof been shown about these threats? You know what she said? None. No. And yet we continue to hear all of these unsubstantiated.
The foreign, what is it? The foreign information. FISA. What is FISA? Foreign Information Security, something like that. But anyway, it's basically saying you're an actual foreign agent. They were spying on American citizens because they might have lived next to somebody they thought was a foreign agent. No shit. The FISA warrants. There were over 700,000 illegal FISA warrants. The Patriot Act? I'm pretty sure that's everybody. No joke.
Substantiated charges being thrown out, even though my colleagues know they're not correct. They're complete lies. Democrats are always able to invite whoever they want for a witness hearing. They just haven't done it. And Democrats have expressed outrage over the access to taxpayer information that DOJ employees have. First off, a few weeks ago, the Treasury Department and the White House signed a memorandum of understanding that prohibits DOJ from accessing personal taxpayer data. They know this, and yet we've spent over an hour and 45 minutes listening to charges that they know again are lies.
Because you're watching.
Second, the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration has released data on just how many individuals have already had access to sensitive information within the IRS. As of July 2023, over 91,000 business entitlement access request system users, 91,000, including 5,000 contractors, had access to at least one sensitive IRS system. Where's the outrage? Why are we just now hearing about this? All these unelected bureaucrats that have access to sensitive information, including 5,000 contractors, you're saying shouldn't. And yet, because Elon Musk has unmasked all of this waste, fraud, and abuse, now you're bringing it up. Even worse, TIJTA found that over a dozen contractors with unfavorable background investigations retained their access to at least one sensitive IRS system because the IRS did not take action to suspend or disable the contractors from the IRS system as required. Where was the outrage then? So if Democrats were serious about protecting taxpayer information, they would have raised concerns about this report and articles that ProPublica and the New York Times published using illegally obtained taxpayer information to publish stories attacking President Trump and other Americans who had their data stolen. Instead of raising concerns then, Democrats chose to weaponize the disclosure of taxpayer information, including President Trump's, to attack him and other Americans for political gain. So stop with the gaslighting and protecting the waste, fraud, and abuse that is being uncovered, and stand up for your constituents and protect their financial futures. With that, I yield.
Ms. Plaskett.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a point of parliamentary inquiry?
Or Mr. Yes. You want to?
Point of parliamentary inquiry, then I'll do the strike of the last word.
Okay.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Is there a mechanism where the committee could compel Mr. Musk to come and testify before the committee? Because we are happy. I think Democrats would be happy to support that motion or that mechanism if the majority is
Van
willing
Dyne's
to
not bad.
oblige us. But we would happy
She doesn't
to do
move
it.
the needle, but she's not bad.
We'll take it under advisement. You're recognized to strike the last word.
All right, Mr. Chairman. I move to strike the last word. So Ways and Means Democrats are demanding answers and fighting to protect taxpayers' privacy and access to their Social Security benefits. Elon Musk Doge has pushed for access to sensitive systems that hold private data on millions of Americans. These include the essential system the government uses to pay its bills, database that stores tax return and Social Security data used to set and pay Social Security benefits. These databases include highly sensitive information, including taxpayers' Social Security numbers, addresses, income information, debts, and property records. Republicans are letting an unelected billionaire ransack our government.
Shit. Sorry, guys.
It's not just dangerous, it's potentially
Take it back.
illegal. We need to know what information Musk has access and what Doge has done with people's personal information, especially if Musk tech bros have stolen information for unauthorized purposes. President Trump has made it clear there will be no guardrails or oversight on Elon Musk, and his department and agency heads are being forced to get in line. That's why we have inspector generals, to prevent fraud, but Trump has fired them all. If the Trump administration won't hold Musk accountable, Congress must. Congress has the power to conduct oversight on the executive branch, and it is our duty to protect taxpayer and Social Security information. That is what Democrats are trying to do today. We have 2 resolutions of inquiry before the committee, and all they do is demand information regarding Doge's intrusions at Treasury, IRS, and the Social Security Administration. We're asking whether Musk and his team access protected information like Social Security numbers and benefit information, addresses, tax debts, wage records, and bank information. We need to find out what's going on. But we can only do this if our Republican colleagues join us. And that's what we're asking them to do, to join us. Republicans either, in my opinion, either don't want to know what's going on, don't care what's going on, or are too scared of Musk to do anything about it. And trust me, I get it. Musk has a $500 billion baseball bat that he's willing to use electorally to make sure that any of you who step out of line, he puts you back in your place quickly. So I get it.
Really?
I get why you're scared. I get why you're not protecting the
He's got a
tax
$500,000
information
baseball
and Social
bat,
Security
ladies and
information
gentlemen.
of
He's gonna
millions
beat
of
you with it.
Americans. I get it.
All in line.
But we need you to have courage. We need you to step up. We need you to actually
The dude
protect
with
your
Asperger's is
constituents.
gonna beat you
Because
with a
what's
bat.
going to happen is when Elon Musk does all the damage and he's gone, you will be holding the bag. And then there'll be no one there to protect you. So don't let him bully you guys into not doing your jobs. We
They'll
need
be
you to
holding the
do your
bag, which
jobs.
has a lot
And
of
listen,
fucking money.
I get it. It's basic math. You have more votes than us. You can vote anything down that you want. But we need you all to step up and protect the American taxpayer. With that, I yield back.
Mr. Swazi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of back and forth here about a lot of different things. It's hard to figure out what to focus on. I think we all want to try
Ad
and
hominems is all they
get rid of
actually
waste,
have
fraud,
in
and
these
abuse in
hearings.
government. It's a major problem.
You should follow us, Miss Hayes.
It's going to require us to
If
work
it ain't
together.
Tuesdays
less
and
finger pointing.
Thursdays and I go
It'd
live,
be great if we could get
it's
Mr.
gonna be a
Musk to come
hearing.
in here and outline different ideas he has for cuts, and then we could vote on it through what's called the rescission process. That would be a great thing
Tuesdays
if we
and
could.
Thursdays is
Mr.
our
Chairman, I know
normal
you're gonna take it
show.
under advisement,
Once
but it would be
Davey
great if
gets
we could
his
get Mr.
life
Musk to
together
just
and
come
gets
here and
settled
sit here
down a little bit,
and lay out
we'll
the
pick
different
up some
cuts that
more.
he thinks that should be made to the federal government. I think, there's a lot of back and forth here. Mr. Smucker was talking earlier about the deficits. I mean, we just voted yesterday. You guys voted yes. We voted no on a budget with $6.75 trillion in expenses and only $4.9 trillion in revenues. You voted yesterday for a massive deficit increasing budget. In addition, the big, beautiful bill that everybody's talking about is going to increase the federal deficit by even more, $3 trillion, because there's $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, but there's only about $1.5 trillion proposed in expense cuts. And those $1.5 trillion in expense cuts can't be made unless you cut Medicaid. And you said you don't want to cut Medicaid. So that's an additional, even under those rosy scenarios, an additional $3 trillion in deficits. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. You want to cut things, but you won't give us the specifics as to what's being done. Mr. Musk is operating.
Miss
Ms. Van
Hayes.
Dyne talked about the witnesses that were here the other day. I asked each of the witnesses specifically, do you know what
Step
Mr.
in
Musk
and
is
have some
doing?
fun.
Do you know if I think you said 100 people are working for him, Lloyd? 100 people are working for Musk, I think you said? But I mean, did they get background checks? Do we know that? Do you know, I'll yield to Mr. Smucker. Do you know if they got background checks? No, you don't know. Nobody knows. We don't know if they got background checks. We don't know what kind of security clearances they have. We don't know what their backgrounds are. I mean, these are simple, basic questions in running a multi-trillion-dollar organization. Are the people that you have, and
I like
you know,
the camera angle and the
people, you have
look
different
because it
names
looks
about
like
them,
he's
but there's
actually talking
young
to the chat.
people that are gamers and hackers and computer experts. We don't know what their backgrounds are. We don't know if they.
Yo, what? Gamers and hackers and computer experts, young. That's exactly who I want on my fucking IT team, you dumb motherfucker. You have absolutely no goddamn idea the skills that gamers build up when they work together. First of all, you're talking about working together as a team. Well, that's a skill of its own. You got leadership that comes up when somebody else knows something a little bit more than the group does, and they take command of whatever situation is going on with that. You got a whole bunch that gaming brings to the fucking, especially leadership and sportsmanship, teamship. You know, just a whole bunch of just camaraderie that comes around with gaming. There's a lot to that comes into play. You talking about the hacking community? Okay, fine. How about we do it? White hackers, black hackers, gray hackers. We got all types of black hackers, black hat hackers, white hat hackers. That sounds a little racist. And it kind of was. But no, the white hats, the black hats, the gray hats, all these hackers that just try to hack into a system for good, try to hack into a system for bad, and try to hack into a system just to find vulnerabilities, and I don't care if I fuck your shit up. Yeah, I want them on my team because if they find a vulnerability, I'm all fucking for it. And computer experts, bitch, we talking about fucking servers, not the goddamn documents in the shitter like Jasmine Crockett was running her mouth about. I'm all for these motherfuckers being there. You're talking about a generation of people like me who are better than me because they're growing up learning all of this shit and have had no goddamn reason to sit there and face life yet. It's going to kick them in the ass, yes. But let's use it for right now until it fucking does. Strange squirrel out moment and a long rant over. Let's go.
They got proper security clearances. We don't know if they have background checks. So
yes,
we've got a big problem in the federal government. We've got way more.
You retarded ass son of a bitch. If they work anywhere near any big company, for any big company, any massive national company, you're going to have to hold a security clearance. The fact that most of them actually work for Elon Musk himself means they've already gone through those government background checks. They're already fucking cleared for top secret fucking clearance and shit like that. Bitch, stop playing games. You got motherfucking government contractors cleared for everything working with that son of a bitch. What are you talking about?
More in expenses than we have in revenues. It causes deficits. Our deficits are the highest percentage of our GDP than it's been in decades. The proposal, the CR that was passed yesterday increases the deficit. The big, beautiful bill that this group is proposing will dramatically increase the deficit. So you say we have to find expenses to cut. We need to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. Yes, let's do that. But we don't know what the expenses are that they're proposing. They're supposed to come before the Congress and propose specific cuts so that we can adjudge whether that makes sense. I don't think anybody here supports the idea when they cut the people that oversaw the nuclear stockpile. Nobody thought that was a good idea. Nobody thought it was a good idea when they cut the people that oversee the avian flu. Nobody thought it was a good idea when they cut the people that oversee a measles outbreak. Nobody thought.
Sir, these things happened with those people there who should have been ready for it in the first place, right? They failed to do their jobs. Look what avian flu did to the fucking bird market and why our eggs are so goddamn expensive. It's weird that you would take that fucking route. Especially seeing as how egg prices are actually stagnating and inflation is actually starting to come down already. A little fucking weird, right? You're going to go this route after we've already started to see a turn in the fucking markets? Yeah, the markets dipped bigger than shit. You know what that was? All that fucking money they pumped in, these major corporations, these billionaires and everything, pumped into the fucking market to make it look like the economy was doing badass while you were struggling? Yeah, they pulled their fucking money out. Because it went up. Under Biden, the economy was shit. It started to take a turn, and then all of a sudden it jumped up, what was it, about 400 points? And now it's taking a 500 fucking point dip, something like that. The motherfuckers that pump shit into the fucking economy got up a little bit. We built it up. We did some shit. We were still surviving. We were working our fucking asses off, pushing more money out there so we can still continue to live our lives. We were doing overtime out the fucking ass. Does it sound familiar yet? We were working overtime because of inflation. And these motherfuckers are now screaming about the people who are trying to find out why the inflation exists. You know, somebody who is an old school fucking liberal, just as RFK, just as Tulsi Gabbard, just as Elon Musk, there's no way with a competent brain, somebody who has the ability, I know it's a superpower, ladies and gentlemen, but somebody who has the ability with common sense, none of these fucking arguments make sense at all. It just sounds like kids kicking and screaming because they didn't get their way in the sandbox. What the fuck happened? How the fuck did this go? Well, they pushed too hard too fast. And they did that because it was actually supposed to be Clinton that won in 2016, but that's a different rabbit hole, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
Those were good ideas. I don't think anybody here is going to think it's a good idea when they're cutting thousands and thousands and thousands of employees at Social Security, so that when people start calling up Social Security and they can't get their calls answered, and then you guys are going to say, look at that, I told you it was broken, but you want to cut 10,000 employees out of the 54,000 that are there. And then there's going to be an argument, like there's been in the past, to privatize Social Security. So let's just work together. Let's say we all want to try and balance the budget. We all want to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. To do that, we have a process and procedure in place for the federal government. You can't do it through impoundment. That's been ruled by the courts, and there's laws specifically passed by Congress that you can't do it that way. You have to go through the rescission process. So to come and make a proposal, I want to cut this, I want to cut that, I want to cut this, I want to cut that, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense, and then we decide yes or no based upon those individual things. It's a process that you're supposed to go through. It's not supposed to be done in the dark by some 20-year-old kids that we don't know if they got background checks or not. So let's all work together and try and accomplish our common goals of trying to make our country a better place. Thank you. I yield back.
Mr. Neal.
Thank you. I move to strike the last word, Mr. Chairman. I want to recognize Ms. Chu, first of all, for a unanimous consent.
Not a problem, Tony. Do what you do, brother.
Yes, I have a unanimous consent request.
This is what we do.
Ms. Van Dyne said that we hadn't asked Mr. Musk to appear before the committee,
What?
and I have here a letter of February.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony, hey, I got to show off something for you a little bit, brother. Pay attention. Our shit's changed. We're going back to a more controlled way. Check this out. Of course, we're still going to have the countdown and the little intro video and everything. Countdown's changed. It's a placeholder for right now. I'm still working on it, but it's a work in progress. I'm not going to play that. But, of course, with the push of a button, brings me up. Because we do these committee hearings right here, I can't even do it right. This debt clock, I got that right there. That's going to be playing throughout. Anytime this is a committee hearing, if you see this right here, you know it's going to be a committee hearing kind of thing. Anyway. But we have the video only one where in this scene, I want to make buttons for it. Oh, wait. No, it is these buttons that I can literally. All right, come on. Here we go. Flip that one. There's YouTube. There's Rumble. YouTube, Rumble. As you're using that. All right. Then we go to this scene that you were seeing right here. This is going to change up as I'm tweaking this. I was just doing this live on screen to just kind of do it. I wanted to throw the chat up there with these kinds of things so everybody can see on screen what y'all are saying. They don't have to actually, But yeah. And we, of course, we got the Doge clock. We got a little ticker down here just to throw more information at you that we may not even talk about. Just little things we find off in the sidelines. That's going to be down there. Then we got, when we just go to chat here, I'll stop right here. We have that. And then we have just turning that on and off. So we have both Rumble and YouTube chat there. You see, we getting things worked out, brother. And of course, we got video only, kind of things like that. Dude, it's working. I got the first scene built up with just me. Everything is running somewhat smoothly. I got a lot to actually tweak in with everything like this too, but all of this was built in a day. I'm happy with it so far. Anyway.
February 6, 2025, over a month ago.
I'm proud of myself.
Signed by Congressmember Gwen Moore and myself, asking Secretary Bessent and the head of DOJ, Mr. Elon Musk,
to learn in one fucking day.
Without objection.
And I yield the balance of my time to Mr. Doggett.
Thank you very much.
What up, Shane?
Today's resolution and our consideration is not the first time.
I feel like Shane's been lurking for a minute.
On February 5th, every Democrat on this committee wrote to the Secretary of the Treasury, Mr. Bessent, and the acting commissioner, Mr. O'Donnell, at the Internal Revenue Service, and asked for the same information we are seeking today. Very same facts that we sought from them over a month and a half ago. Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent to put these letters into the record.
I'm pushing it.
Without objection.
I was talking about this. We were going to go back
Ms.
and
Chu
do
just
this.
pointed out,
I'm building
the next
it out.
day, February the 6th,
And it's going to be cheaper and look better.
after a meeting with Speaker
I just got
Johnson,
to put the time in.
they
Now
affirmed
that I got
in
the
their
time, why
letter,
not?
Ms. Chu and Ms. Moore, members of this committee, that they were looking forward to having Mr. Musk here and others from DOJ, because we had an oversight committee set for a meeting to explore these matters. We're promised that witness would appear. And so who came? Several witnesses who, when questioned, indicated they didn't have any facts. They could say that DOJ had done nothing because they knew nothing. And so here we are 6 weeks later. This resolution was originally presented to the committee on February the 12th, our third attempt to get this information, and yet nothing has been forthcoming. And this morning we hear, I must say, the very laughable suggestion that the reason Mr. Musk is not here is because Democrats didn't ask him. That just doesn't meet a test of the least bit of credibility. It is as incredible as some of the things that President Trump has been telling us, like his false claims, really his lie, that people who were of advanced years, 125, 150, 350 years, were getting Social
And of
Security,
course-
all done to discredit Social Security. What is at stake with our privacy? Well, Mr. Schneider pointed out that one of the issues here is the danger of identity theft, a serious danger that many Americans have experienced, the horror of having their identity stolen and finding out they have to undo everything that affects their life because this has happened. And here we have a group of musketeers who couldn't even protect their own website from being hacked, and yet they may have access to extensive private information. The second concern I've raised.
Whoa, sir. Every major system that has broken away from your mind virus shit has seen an attack after attack after attack. Rumble has been hit fucking hard. Even Timcast has been hit because Rumble has been hit. He uses their system. The only things that haven't are still the ones that are in your control. A little weird, right? X just had a DD. You have to understand, like, X has to take billions upon billions of connections a day. Requests for connections in their system. They have to take that shit a day. To overflow that, you have to understand the amount of bots that had to have been created to overflow Twitter X's capacity to take in requests for access even to their basic information. That's what a DDoS is. It's kind of like flooding the fucking front door, just smacking everybody's just trying to get in at once. That ain't like hacker capabilities, sir. That is countrywide weaponized hacker capability. The bot farm that had to be behind that shit, or the multiples of bot farms that had to be behind that shit to do it at the exact same fucking time? No way. No way. But that happened. Rumble's happened. Rumble's gotten in multiple fucking times, and somehow it seems to be one of them was traced back to what was it? Korea, North Korea. It was a little fucking weird why it was pinged so fucking far away, and for no damn reason like that. And then all of a sudden, they might have gotten hit by the Russians. It's a little fucking weird, right? We're supposed to be the Russian stooges over there for Rumble. But it looks like we might have gotten hit by Russian hackers on Rumble. A little fucking weird, right? Yeah. The ones that allow us to speak are the ones getting attacked. And you don't find that strange at all, Mr. Doggett? Or would you rather keep that? Because I say go fuck yourself if you'd rather keep it.
Is about tax payments that people in my district and across the country are submitting far fewer tax returns than they did last year this time because many of them are concerned that their data will be exposed.
But it's already been exposed.
Overall, there was a time
didn't the IRS
that the Republican
leak your
Party
information, ladies and
cared
gentlemen?
about the privacy of individual Americans.
How many
Thought
hacks have
that
they had?
government overreach was a problem, opposed to national identification cards and other ways that might be intrusions on Americans. Well, let me tell you what data that Musk and the Musketeers were accessing. Information about every single wage earner in this country and their employer. Wages, employer tax
Even the
identification
dudes behind you, like, that is
Social
just
Security
ridiculous.
numbers,
I'm falling asleep.
verified dates of
Let me check
unemployment
Twitter
insurance,
real quick. What's going on?
Social Security records. And what they have told us this morning, other than these laughable suggestions, is that the only way that they, as Republicans in this new administration, can fight waste, fraud, and abuse is to expose the information, the private information of American citizens across this country. The only way they can fight waste, fraud, and abuse is to invade individual privacy and to give it to people like the 25-year-old self-described racist who expressed particular disdain for South Asians who are great members of our country, to give it to that kind of person to do with what they may. That is wrong, and this resolution of inquiry does not slow the effort of fighting
He talking about Mr. Big Balls?
waste, fraud, and abuse. It does advance the effort of protecting the privacy of every single
He's
American.
talking about
and I urge
Mr.
its
Big Balls.
adoption.
That
Thank you. Are
motherfucker.
there additional members who wish to strike the last word? Seeing none, are there any
See, this is what
amendments
I'm
to the
talking about.
resolution? Seeing none,
Get the fuck out of here. Receipts, please. I haven't yet.
I will now recognize Mr. Buchanan for the purpose of offering a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee report H.Res 127 adversely to the House of Representatives.
The question is on the motion to report H.Res. 1.
See, I haven't done it yet here. And here's the thing. Every time I did it, when I, roughly around, you remember the 2008 housing crisis, right? Every year since then, if you file roughly around the time where it's peak season, it takes forever for everything to happen for you. But if you choice it off for like the last month or so before the deadline, everything seems to go smoothly. And there's not really a hiccup, you know? So it's kind of like, I need to wait. I can wait. I got money built up. I can do a little bit of something with, so I'm just going to hold off a little bit. Put it through. And it goes off, and like 2-3 weeks later, it's in my account.
127 adversely to the House of Representatives. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Buchanan.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan, yes. Mr. Smith of Nebraska.
Yes.
Mr.
Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I meant to bring this up before we actually fucking did this. I look super fucking white because that's like bright as fucking my face right now. I gotta turn down the brightness of my screen if I'm doing this. But this is what they were arguing about. Requesting the president transmit to the House of Representatives not later than 14 days after the date of the adoption of this resolution documents in his possession relating to the amount of funding previously enacted and currently unspent in certain public laws. That's the title of the bill. What does it do? The resolution requests that the president transmit to the House of Representatives documents related to the amount of funding that was provided in specified laws regarding COVID-19 and is currently unspent. That's what they were arguing about. I meant to bring that up because there's two different ones in here. I meant to bring that up. They're voting right now whether they should continue 127 through their process. Okay. 127 says, hey, let's make a bill saying that the president must give a shit about COVID-19. Kind of brings their arguments into a different perspective now, doesn't it? Oh, there's another one here with it. Okay. So this one is actually the H.Res. 195, 117th Congress. We're about to argue this one. This is known as No Debt Resolution. The resolution directs the clerk of the House of Representatives to place a real-time display on the gross national debt in main hearing rooms of House Appropriations Committee and House Budget Committee. The two main motherfuckers that actually say where your money's coming from and where it's going to flow from must actually have a live national debt ticker going on in their hearing rooms. That shit needs to go in. It's going to be installed. Everybody can see the shit. This comes from Chip Roy, House of Representatives, he's Texas. Latest action. It was referred to the House in 2021. The Ways and Means Committee is just now taking this shit up. How do we appropriate these funds? But yeah, they're going to vote for the last one to tell President Trump to give them everything he knows about COVID-19. Cool. Why not?
Smith of Nebraska, yes. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, yes. Mr. Schweikert. Mr. Schweikert, yes. Mr. LaHood. Mr. Arrington.
Or maybe
Mr. Estes.
grow a little bit.
Mr. Estes, yes. Mr. Smucker. Mr. Smucker, yes.
That was gay as shit.
Mr. Hearn.
Fuck you.
Mr. Hearn, yes. Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Miller, yes. Dr. Murphy. Dr. Murphy, yes. Mr. Kustoff. Mr. Kustoff, yes. Mr. Fitzpatrick. Mr. Fitzpatrick, yes. Mr. Stubbe. Mr. Stubbe, yes. Miss Tinney. Miss Tinney, yes. Ms. Fishbach. Ms. Fishbach, yes. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, yes. Ms. Van Dyne. Ms. Van Dyne, yes. Mr. Feenstra. Mr. Feenstra, yes. Ms. Maliatakis. Ms. Maliatakis, yes. Mr. Carey. Mr. Carey, yes. Mr. Yakum. Mr. Yakum, yes. Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, yes. Mr. Bean.
That sounds like some shit that would come out of the early 2000s. Mr. Yakum. Mr. Yakum. I see it. God damn it. Why did I hear that?
Mr. Bean, yes. Mr. Moran.
I'm using it.
Mr. Moran, yes.
It's the
Mr.
Yakum.
Neal. Mr. Neal, no.
Oh my God, I'm going to
Mr.
make
Doggett.
that so fucking racist.
Mr. Doggett, no. Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, no. Mr. Larson. Mr. Larson, no. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, no.
I'm going to get
Ms.
canceled
Sanchez.
just for that.
Ms. Sanchez, no. Ms. Sewell. Ms. Dobene. Ms. Dobene, no. Ms. Chu. Ms. Chu, no. Ms. Moore.
I'm not a sports fan.
Ms.
I don't
Moore,
get it.
no.
I don't understand
Mr.
why
Boyle.
everybody is just like, it's a cult of personality kind of thing.
Mr. Byer. Mr. Byer,
with,
no.
with Alabama.
Mr. Evans.
and their
Mr. Evans,
football fucking
no.
team.
Mr. Schneider. Mr. Schneider, no. Mr. Panetta.
We have a minor
Mr.
league.
Panetta, no. Mr. Gomez. Mr.
A
Gomez,
minor
no.
league baseball
Mr.
team
Horsford. Mr.
by
Horsford,
the name
no.
of Rocket
Ms.
City
Plaskett.
Trash Pandas.
Ms. Plaskett, no. Mr. Swazi. Mr. Swazi, no.
I swear to God, I've proven it.
Mr. LaHood. Mr. LaHood, yes.
Fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it. We got to do it. This is our minor league team. What up, Ike's girl? Look, full contextual information on this, okay? 100% all honesty, what happened here was simple. They let it be an actual vote online for anybody and everybody claiming to be from Alabama. That was the official vote. Now they advertised this, it picked up on social media. So motherfuckers went in there and started voting for Trash Pandas because it's memeable. It's funny. We get it. It was the official motherfucking vote. So we are the Rocket City Trash Pandas because they left it open to the fucking public. Now, there was a committee hearing. I swear to God, it's funny as shit. I can find it. There was a little a local committee hearing about this where somebody tried to argue that Disney would sue us because we're using a raccoon. And Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy is a raccoon. So therefore, Disney will sue us for using a raccoon. Look, we got motherfuckers that put you in space and build all of your military equipment. Well, not all of it, but a damn good bit of the military equipment. But they think Disney's gonna sue you because you use a raccoon in your logo. I swear to God, we are dumb.
Mr. Arrington.
How is Ms. Sewell recorded?
Ms. Sewell is not recorded.
Take it easy, girl.
Ms. Sewell, no.
What are they voting on? To have Trump tell
Mr.
them,
Boyle.
or to have Trump give them all his information about COVID-19.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith, yes.
Okay, come on. I may even just bring up the next one.
Is to file with the committee clerk supplemental. The
noes are.
Clerk will report the vote.
The yeses are 25. The noes are 18.
There being 25 yeses and 18 noes, the motion is agreed to, and H.Res. 127 is ordered unfavorably reported to the House. Without objection, members have 2 additional days to file with the committee clerk supplemental additional dissenting.
Wait. Just say that again?
Clerk will report the vote.
The yeses are 25. The noes are 18.
There being 25 yeses and 18 noes, the motion is agreed to, and H.Res. 127 is ordered unfavorably reported to the House. Without objection, members have 2 additional days to file with the committee clerk supplemental additional dissenting or minority views. Last November, the American people overwhelmingly rejected the Biden administration's efforts to put Washington and its bureaucrats ahead of everyday Americans.
Okay, I think they're moving into the next one here. So here's what we're going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I was just testing out everything tonight. This one was actually 4 hours long here. I got another one to argue about for another 2 hours. So how about this? I will bring the next one to you tomorrow. We're going to finish this up. We're going to have a good time. It's all going to be... It'll all be wrapped up tomorrow with just this one, because this has been ridiculous. Ways and Means Committee is always ridiculous anyway, but this has just been more ridiculous than that. And I don't think we're done yet. I was skipping around through this before. I don't think we're done yet, but we may even do a little bit longer. Maybe we might listen to another one if I like everything and I still want to twist everything and tweak, and I still need to get set up with more cameras, more people, more connections. We'll get all that rolling. Matter of fact, here, let me pull that up. We'll get all that rolling and get that situated. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a night here just to show you what we've been working on, just to show you what I've been working on, the amount of effort I am putting into this. You all are about to see. And it's about to look great. It's about to sound great. We're about to do amazing with our channel and what we can do at a lower cost. And it's all because you pushed us to do it. It literally is. That's it. You pushed us to do it. You made us get up off our asses and get to actually doing some work and stop being so damn lazy with everything. We did it before. We're doing it again. All this shit. I appreciate the fuck out of every single one of you. Y'all have a good night. And we will definitely see you again tomorrow with a continuation of this bullshit.
Comes a president. We can't start our own little
I have a
business here.
dream, that's all I need.
I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in the night inning. There ain't no point in resisting. Living life like a dream, live it right, that's the thing. Every night got a team, I've been tied to the scene. Out on stage, here I'm screaming. Okay, it's a dream, and I pray as a team. One day it'll be me. If I want it, then I'll get it. Head down, don't regret it. Push myself to the limit. If I play it, then I win it. I'm just saying, I'm just living for today. For a minute, I don't stay, I just visit. Have no shame, I admit it. Looking at me to see if I succeed, to see if I believe. They're looking up to me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want